welcome to the Weekly Word. Today I want to talk about failure. We've all messed up. I know I have, sometimes bigger than others, but we've all fallen short. Things don't always go according to our plans. We make a certain direction. We have things all set out in our lives, and sometimes things go astray and things don't fall into place like we think they should. Today I want to look at 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 24 to 28, and what Paul says about that. So let's turn there now. 2 Corinthians 11, we'll look at verses 24 down to 28. This is Paul talking to the church in Corinth. He says, 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I have been constantly on the move. I have been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from fellow Jews, in danger from Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false believers. I have labored and toiled and have often gone without sleep. I have known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I have been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face daily the pressure of my concern for all the churches. So there's a lot there that Paul talks about to the church in Corinth. He describes a lot of things that he's had to face, a lot of tough situations he's had to endure. And that wasn't according to his plan. Paul would go into a lot of cities and just travel around. And I'm sure when he would walk into a city, he had a plan, and he would evangelize, and he would tell people about Jesus, and he would show people who Jesus is. And he would go and he would just spread the gospel as well and as powerful and as intensely as he possibly could. But so often it wasn't met with love and acceptance. It was met with hostility and anger, and he was beaten and thrown in prison and shipwrecked, and all the things that he describes weren't according to his plan. They were failures in his mind. I'm working so hard for you, Lord. I'm doing all the right things. I'm saying all the right things. I'm just giving you my all, but why isn't it working? Why aren't people accepting you? And some did. But we see in Paul's life, it didn't work according to plan at the time that he wanted it to. And I'm sure it was frustrating for him for it not all to fall into place when he thought it should. But we see that throughout history as well, in modern history. Henry Ford, Ford today is known for his innovative assembly line in American-made cars. He wasn't an instant success. In fact, in his early businesses, they failed and left him broke 5 times before he founded the successful Ford Motor Company. Bill Gates didn't seem like a shoo-in for success after dropping out of Harvard and starting a failed first business with Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen called Trafodata. This early idea didn't work. Gates later his creations did, creating the global empire that is Microsoft. Harlan David Sanders, perhaps better known as Colonel Sanders of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Sanders had a hard time selling his chicken. In fact, his famous secret chicken recipe was rejected 1,009 times before a restaurant finally decided to take a chance on him. Walt Disney rakes in billions of dollars today in merchandise. But that's not how it started. He was fired by a newspaper editor because he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. After that, Disney started a number of businesses that didn't last too long and ended up in bankruptcy and failure. He kept plugging along, however, and eventually found a recipe for success that worked. Abraham Lincoln, he's known as one of the greatest leaders of the United States. Lincoln's life wasn't so easy. In his youth, he went to war as a captain and returned as a private. I don't know if you know much about military, but that's actually being demoted. Lincoln didn't stop failing there, however. He started numerous failed businesses and was defeated in numerous runs he made for public office, but then eventually became president. Many of us in our Christian walks have plans. We talk to God and we want things to go a certain way. And when we set out, even telling people about Christ, we think, everybody's just going to receive it. And I see the issues, this friend or this family member or this person has in their life. And if they would just listen to my words, things would change. But often it doesn't work out that way. Same with our lives. We have plans and we're following God and we're following in his footsteps that he's laid out before us. But So often things don't go according to plan, and we view them as failures. But God's saying, listen, these are steps to grow your faith. These are ways to draw you closer to me. Use these failures as springboards to bring you closer, as learning experiences that'll bring you there. Paul so often was met with hostility, and he was describing all the things he had to face, but they weren't failures. Some of these cities and some of these towns and these places that Paul went to and evangelized and nothing seemed to work right. His later letters or letters from others showed that there was a strong Christian contingent there because of what Paul did. He didn't always recognize that God was working behind the scenes through those failures, quote unquote, through those issues that he was facing. But God was. So whatever you're facing, I challenge you that God is using those situations. God's using them to turn people's lives to him, using them to shape you into who he wants you to be. But we don't always see it. Trust that God has a plan. And we don't always get to see the end result until it's there. Sometimes we miss all those things. God has a plan for your life. You may think that you're stumbling. You might think that you're a failure. You might think that things aren't going the way you want them to. But trust that he has a plan. Cling to him throughout it all. Keep your hand in his every day. Get into the word constantly. Talk to him constantly. Learn from the issues and the struggles and the mountains that you're facing, and God will turn those around in your life. We don't always see it right away, but God is working for you.
Let our voices rise, all creation cries.